Okay, class, picking up where we left off at, I took the liberty of filling in this information here. We left off with what does the ratio represent, and it represented slope. And then it says, now using the table, do you see the y-intercept? If so, what is it? If we go back up here to the table, the y-intercept is when x is 0 and we find the y value. So x is 0 and y is 2. So when we scroll down here, we have 0, 2. That would be our y-intercept. And it's denoted here, y-intercept has 0 for x and then whatever value for y. Now we go here to problem 2. It says using any 2 points from the table, find the slope of the line using the definition of slope. I use these 2 points from the table, 0, 2, and 1, 0, and we use the slope formula. And we substitute in the values. We know y sub 2 means the y value in the second ordered pair. Y sub 1 is the y value in the first ordered pair. X sub 2 is the x value in the second ordered pair. And x sub 1 is the x value in the first ordered pair. And we subtract. We add negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. So our slope is negative 2. It says, what do you notice when you look at both part 1 and part 2? It gives the same slope. Now we come to our next example. It says, looking at the slope with the table. It says, solve the equation for y. 5x minus 3y equals 15. So let's do this. So we will subtract 5x on both sides. So we will add 3y is equal to negative 5x plus 15. Now we will divide each side by 3. And we will have y is equal to a negative 5/3 x plus 5. And this is exactly, actually this should have been negative 3. So it actually should be a negative 5. Made a little error here. Let me erase this. Okay, so it should be a positive 5/3 minus 5. 5/3 x minus 5. As it was supposed to have been divided by a negative. So now, we come here to this table. It says complete the table of values using the equation that was solved for y. We have y equals 5/3 x minus 5. Now again, you can use your calculator in this here, but I will show the substitution. We have y is equal to, it'll be 5/3 times a negative 6 minus 5. Now using your calculator, it will give you negative 15. So we have y is equal to 5/3 times a negative 3 minus 5. And this also will give you a negative 10. So we have y is equal to 5/3 times 0 minus 5. This will give you negative 5. We have 5/3 times 3 minus 5. This will give you 0. We have y is equal to 5/3 times 6 minus 5 will give you 5. It says, what do you notice as you move from point to point in the table from top to bottom? Does x increase or decrease? It increases. What is the change? If you notice, it's going up by plus 3. Does y increase or decrease? Y is actually increasing. What is the change? It's going up by a positive 5. Now, write the ratio of the change in y to the change in x as a ratio. So the change in y is 5, positive 5, and the change in x is positive 3. It says, what does this ratio represent? It represents the slope. Using the table, do you see the y-intercept? If so, what is it? The y-intercept is when x is 0. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 5. Now, using any 2 points from the table, find the slope of the line using the definition of slope. Okay, so what I would want to do is use 0, negative 5, since we have that. and then probably 3, 0. So now we will use the slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Y sub 2 is 0 minus y sub 1 is negative 5. All over x sub 2 is 3 minus x sub 1 is 0. So this will give us 0 plus 5, which is 5. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So it'll be 5/3. Now, it says here, what do you notice when you look at both part 1 and part 3? They both have the same slope. Now, we scroll down here, slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. It says when we solve a linear equation for y, the equation will be in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. When the equation is in this form, m will be the slope and b will be the y-intercept. The definition of the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. The slope-intercept form of the equation of a non-vertical line with slope m and y-intercept b is y equals mx plus b. The linear functions. The slope-intercept form of the equation of the line's equation y equals mx plus b can be expressed in function notation by replacing y with f of x. So y is equal to f of x, which equals mx plus b. Functions in the form f of x equals mx plus b are called linear functions. Therefore, in the equation of a linear function, the x coefficient is the line slope, m in the constant term, b is the y-intercept. For example, in the equation as in slope-intercept form, y equals 3x minus 7. The slope is 3, which is m is 3, and the y-intercept is negative 7, which is b is negative 7. Or you could write the y-intercept as an ordered pair as well, which would be 0, negative 7. It says in the linear function, f of x is equal to 3/4 x plus 5. The slope is 3/4, so m is 3/4, and the y-intercept is 5, b equals 5. Or you could write it, the y-intercept as an ordered pair. Now remember, when the linear equation is solved for y, we say that the equation is in slope-intercept form. The form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Now it says find the slope and y-intercept by putting the equation 3x minus 2y equals 24 into slope-intercept form. So we have 3x minus 2y equals 24. We want to get y by itself. So we will subtract 3x on both sides. We will add negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 24. Now we divide each individual term by negative 2. Because remember, we want to get y by itself. Y is equal to a positive 3/2 x minus 12. And that is your final answer. Now, they want us to find the slope. The slope is 3/2 because that's the number in front of x. And our y-intercept, we could write as b or an ordered pair, is negative 12. So that is our final answer. Now, we have the example. Find the slope and y-intercept by putting this equation into slope-intercept form. So we add 2x plus 7y equals 35. We subtract 2x on both sides. So remember, we're trying to get y by itself. So we add 7y equals negative 2x plus 35. Divide each individual term by 7. And y is equal to a negative 2/7 x plus 5. So our slope is a negative 2/7. And our y-intercept is 5. In our next problem, we have the same directions. We have 5x minus 6y is equal to 21. We subtract 5x on both sides. Negative 6y equals negative 5x plus 21. We divide each individual term by negative 6. And y is equal to a negative divided by a negative is positive. It'll be 5/6x. 21 and negative 6, we know it's going to give us a minus. But these two numbers had 3 in common, so this would give us 7/2. So our slope would be 5/6, and our y-intercept would be a negative 7/2. Now we move on to graphing a linear equation that is in slope-intercept form. Graphing y equals mx plus b using the slope and y-intercept. Plot the point containing a y-intercept on the y-axis. This is the point 0b. Obtain a second point using the slope m. Write m as a fraction. Use rise over run starting at the point containing a y-intercept to plot this point. Use a straight edge to draw a line through the 2 points. Draw arrowheads at the end of the line to show that the line continues indefinitely in both directions. Be sure to draw the line past the 2 points. Graph the linear function y equals 2/3 x plus 1 by using the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, first of all, the slope here is 2/3, and the y-intercept as an ordered pair would be 0, 1. So we will first plot 0, 1. We'll start at the origin. We'll go up 1. That's 0, 1. Now what we want to do, we want to use the slope to plot 2 other points. So what we would do is we'll use our rise over run. From here we will rise 2, go 1, 2, then we will run 3, 1, 2, 3. Then again we will rise 2, 1, 2, then we will run 3, 1, 2, 3. Now for some reason this point keeps disappearing, but you see where the point is, and then you would need to draw a line. Now I don't have a straight edge, so you would just draw a line through those points. It should form a straight line, and that will be it. Now we go on to the next problem. We got to get y by itself. So we add 2x plus 7y equals 35. Subtract 2x on both sides. We add 7y equals negative 2x plus 35. Divide each individual term by 7. And y is equal to a negative 2/7 x plus 5. Now our slope is a negative 2/7, and our y-intercept will be 0, 5. So we graph 0, 5, which is here. Now we do our rise over run. Since we have a negative number, we could do our rise as going down. It'll go down 1, 2, and our run is positive, which is 7. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now, again, this point keeps disappearing, but we can still make do with it. So we can redo our rise over run. This time we can make our numerator positive, so we could go up 2, and then we can make our denominator negative, so our run will go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can plot our point here. Now, okay class, this is not the prettiest, but you get the point. I had to put this here because those points kept disappearing, and then we drew our straight line through them. Now we come down here to this next problem here. This is already in slope-intercept form. Our slope here would be 3, and our y-intercept would be 0, negative 1, and we will plot those points. Now I took the liberty of plotting those points, but one thing we have to remember is this here. This 3 is really 3 over 1, so we will plot 0, negative 1, we will go up 3, and then we will go up 3, and then across 1. So we go 1, 2, 3, to the right 1, 1, 2, 3, to the right 1, and plot our points. So we used our rise over run. Now we come to the next problem here. It's the same thing. This will end up being 2 over 1. And we will plot our 0, negative 4. We will go up 2, to the right 1, up 2, and to the right 1, and plot our points. Now we come here. We have our slope is a negative 2/5. Our y-intercept will be 0, 7. And then we will plot our 0, 7, which we will go to our origin, and we will go up 7. and plot our point.